Welcome to another meeting of TV Holics Anonymous. Quick, hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on our socials too: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to this podcast on. Welcome to another meeting of TV Holics Anonymous. My name is Ruru, and I am a TV holic. So, in today's episode, Mimi is not here because she has not watched EXO Kitty. She hasn't even seen season 1, season 2, let alone season 3. So that's why I thought, because I haven't previously covered this show on here before on this podcast, I thought I'd just cover season 1 in detail, and then do season 2 in detail, and then do season 3 in detail. So if you haven't followed, I suggest following, because I'm going to talk about behind the scenes gossip and all that kind of stuff, of all the seasons, and cast drama, and how people took the show, what my thoughts were about the show, all that stuff. And hopefully we'll get over the summer Mimi to watch season 3, and if they do a season 4, we will both be covering it together, definitely. So let's talk about season 1. I thought this was kind of like a kiss and tell kind of season. I didn't know really what to expect from the show. I thought it'd be very different from what it was. Let's just get into it. Actually, let me just talk about how it opened up. It opened up in America, and Kitty was at her pool party and all that, or at her friend's pool party, or at her own pool party, and then she decided on a whim to go to study in South Korea, in the same place that her mum, who had passed away, went. And she's half Korean, her dad's white, and then her dad's also with someone else now, so they showed that as well. From the jump, I found the character of Kitty and progressively really, really annoying. I know this was a spin-off from a movie or another show where Kitty had a small part. I did not watch that, so I don't know what happened there. I don't know if I'll go back and watch that ever, because it feels like if Kitty was part of it, I just don't want to know. And any of the characters that have jumped onto the show from EXO Kitty, from that old show or movie or whatever, what was on Netflix, the spin-off that created this spin-off, EXO Kitty, I think that they are really, really annoying and very theatre actors, very over the top, very irritating people. And I don't find overacting acting. I find it very annoying and in your face, and kind of makes a mockery of the audience, of us watching. We want to watch something that we can't really tell is a TV show. We get so caught up in it, and we can't tell these characters are putting on a show for us. We want to be immersed in the action in the season, and I feel none of them are like that, any of the characters from that previous spin-off that have been on EXO Kitty, including Kitty, like I said. So getting back to my original point, I find Kitty so freaking annoying. She overacts. She's a really bad actress. I don't know why they couldn't have found someone better for this role. They didn't have to do a spin-off from that exact show. They could have done this exact show, but they could have not made it a spin-off from the previous one. I don't understand. This girl is just terrible, a terrible actress. Her especially her facial expressions are so exaggerated and so crazy. Are they doing this on purpose? Because that's what I don't know. I can't get in my mind. Are they making her do this on purpose, overact, because that's what they think Korean TV is or Korean K-dramas are people are overacting? Because they're not. They're very subtle, and they're very good at acting in K-dramas. I don't see the allure of Kitty, as in the girl playing her. She's just very she grates on you. I thought it'd get better watching the first season, like her acting. I think everyone else and the script and like the whole Koreanness of it being in Korea, of it kind of saved the show. If it was just like basically about her and there's not many side characters or side dramas or side plots, I think I'd find it worse than it is. I think I would have had to stop watching because, like I said, she is super annoying and she can't act. Anyway, let me just get on with what happened. So let's just talk about like the basics and like the hook of the show. So, like I said, it like it's a spin-off, and the show was called the spin-off. The Netflix show was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and that was a trilogy, I believe. These are just my notes, some notes that I made, and like a while ago, so that's why I can't remember. I'm just like going to read off some of the notes and also talk about and expand upon it. And then it had like Jenny Han, and she was like the main character and the showrunner. And she wanted to like basically give like the meddling young sister Kitty Song-Covey, who's played by Anna Cathcart, her own like main like character moment. That's why she created this spin-off like show, Exo Kitty. And the premise basically is Kitty travels to, like I said, to Korea, the Korea like to go to this like the independent school of Seoul, known as KISS. That's what they refer to it on the show as, KISS. And basically that was to like reunite with her long lost with her long distance like boyfriend Day, and to walk the same halls as her mother did, her mother who'd passed away. And she wanted to kind of like get a feel for what her mother's like and all that, because she didn't really know her mother growing up, as she's the youngest child and she can't remember much of her mother before her mother passed. And also, so this place that they shoot the school in, KISS, it's actually a university, and I believe it is an international university, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% on that. So the vibe, basically, it's kind of like she's like a fish out of water kind of person, like situation. The story is like that, and it's kind of like a high school romance show. So let me just like talk briefly about a few of the episodes. I just want to say that like episode 1 and 2, it was like the shock factor I think they were giving us. Like Kitty basically arrives and she finds out that Day has actually got a girlfriend, Yuri, and realizes that her romantic like fantasy is like becoming a nightmare. And then she kind of like has like this Portland stalker nickname that kind of like originated because of like that whole situation. But she doesn't really know what's going on with like Yuri and like Day, the whole situation. Everything's like, you know, missing context and all that stuff. So then like in episodes 3 and 5, it's basically kind of like an investigation kind of situation. So the fake dating like is kind of like revealed, and I revealed it just a second ago. We didn't get to that bit yet. We learn that Yuri is basically hiding her sexuality and her relationship with Juliana. And also Kitty finds out her mother's old yearbook and medical records were like leading to potentially a secret mystery brother that she didn't know about. And so that's exciting as well. So we've got so many like little subplots. And then and it's all stemming from Kitty basically. So then episodes 6 to 8 is kind of like a big shift. Like the secret brother turns out to be Professor Alex Lee, who is actually the son of the Principal Lim and Lim Im. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I'm trying to get it right. The Professor and Professor Lee who's basically not Kitty's mum, but Yuri's mum. So Min, Ho, and Kitty start having kind of like an enemy to like lovers kind of like tension between them brewing. And then at Chosuk, the Chosuk episode basically is like a big kind of thing that's highlighted. That's like, you know, like a national holiday in Korea where everyone spends it with their families. And then episode 9 to 10, it's like basically the finale, and it's like the big like winter showcase, and Kitty basically finally realizes she has feelings for Yuri, and she gets expelled from like living in the boys' dorm. And at that point, she like breaks up with Day and almost like confesses to like Yuri that she has feelings for her. And then Minho confesses his love to her on the plane, to Kitty on the plane, and that's how we like kind of end it. So let's just talk about like the characters and stuff like that, the like character development and like the casting process and stuff like that. So I did a bit of research on that as well, and I found out basically that Kitty, who is played by Anna Cathcart. I'm really sorry about butchering any of the Korean names or like any of the other names like on this show. Like, sorry about that. So Kitty, basically Anna Cathcart, she moves from like being a matchmaker who thinks like love is easy to like someone who basically kind of like realizes it's like not that easy, and it's like very messy and like very fluid, and a lot of different things can happen, a lot of scenarios can happen, a lot of like outside intervention can take over and all that stuff. And basically she discovers her like bisexuality, and it's like kind of like a major milestone for like the character. Like I said, I believe that Anna Cathcart is not even Korean. I think she's Chinese, a half Chinese, and I think she's Canadian as well, if I'm not mistaken. I read that a long time ago, so that might be wrong. I think they should have definitely picked a Korean American for this role, or a Korean Canadian for this role, because it just kind of like especially in like season 3 when I'm noticing it more, because I picked up on way more like Korean words. When she's speaking Korean, when they have her speak Korean, it's so terrible. I couldn't even understand like the basic words that she was saying when she was saying things like in season 3, like 죄송합니다, and she was saying Julie. I don't know how even she was saying it, but I had to try and like translate it in my brain what she was saying. Like she was trying to say sorry to people. It was so terrible. And then when she was talking to her grandmother as well, it was like her aunt, her emo harmony. It was really like, it was really, really terrible. I don't think that, is she doing it on purpose? Like making herself sound really terrible on purpose? Or is that just, I can't. They should have had like someone who could speak Korean. And I know the character doesn't speak Korean, but like if you've been living in Korea and studying there for like, you know, for like a few semesters or like a couple of years, you would have picked up how to say things better. You would have picked up more Korean by now, and they would have corrected your accent like everyone there a long time ago. It's very, very bad, her accent, and it's just not like right for the show. I just think she's not right for the show. I don't know, like I said, why they picked this girl to play the role. And then basically Dae, who is Choi Min-yeong, that's his real name. He basically, first of all, is like the perfect boyfriend, and becomes like, his character kind of like develops and becomes like more complex as we see like his like financial struggles with him and his dad and his sister, and the pressure of like his scholarship. So he becomes like more of a rounded character. And then Yuri, who's played by Jia Kim, the mean girl. She's like cast as like the kind of like mean girl character who actually has like a scared girl inside her, like hiding the truth from her parents, who are like really powerful and like I believe they're like Chaebol or Chaebol adjacent. Um, like Korean billionaires, like really, really rich or millionaires. Um, so yeah, and then there's Minho, who he's played by Sung Hyun Lee. I thought Yuri and Minho were actually brother and sister in real life, but they kind of seem to have different surnames, so I'm not sure about that. But if anyone knows, comment on that because I thought I read something about like a long time ago that Minho and Yuri were actually brother and sister in real life. I don't know. Anyway, but they seem to have different surnames. Maybe they have different parents, different dads or something. I don't know. Different mums or different dads. I don't know. Anyway, so Minho Sang Hyun Lee is basically the breakout star, and he goes from a pampered, like arrogant, like pretty boy who's like rich and just gets everything he wants to showing like genuine like care for his friends, and he actually like has a soft spot like growing for Kitty. She kind of like manages to permeate through his like cold stone heart. And then there's Q, and this role's played by Anthony Kevan. I think I've seen him in other shows as well on Netflix, but I can't really remember which shows they were. The moral compass, I feel like he is. He's like become this kind of moral compass on the show, and he's like who Kitty goes to just to discuss things and stuff, and discuss like we kind of like see his relationship with Florian and the conflict with when Florian cheats on his exams and all that stuff this season. And then I just wanted to talk a bit about like behind the scenes and like a bit of gossip. So, oh yeah, my notes. Okay, so like I said, I'm just reading my notes again for like the first time after a long time. And I didn't realize, yeah, they are real life siblings. I did write that down. That's where I got that from. Sorry, guys. Real life siblings. So the biggest shocker for like a lot of the fans I wrote down was like that Jia Kim, who plays Yuri, and Sang Hyun Lee, Minho, are actually brother and sister in real life. That's what I wrote down. No wonder I kind of like remembered it and then like regurgitated that out of my head like before like thinking about it. Um, and basically what I found out that they didn't even like tell the cast at first, when they first started filming. Like no one knew. And then basically there was like the recasting of Day, so I heard about this as well. Um, Day was played by like a different actor in the to all the boys movies and for the series on that show. And for this series, they cast Choi Min-yeong, and basically he's like a seasoned K-drama child actor, so like they thought he'd be better for the role. I liked his acting; he was good. And then production, I feel like I just wanted to touch a bit on this as well. So they filmed the whole like season entirely on location in Seoul, South Korea, the capital city of South Korea, and there was like a few cameos, like members of 2PM, or basically the to all the boys family appearing like via FaceTime and stuff like that. So the dad and all that kind of stuff. And some of the sisters, I think there's two sisters that Kitty has. Yeah, so we'll discuss that probably in like in season 2 and 3 as well. And then it's kind of like there's a survival show connection going on here. So like the original actor for Day, Jeon Ho Hyung couldn't do the show because he was competing on like the idol survival show, Boys Planet. I know nothing about that, but this is the gossip that I heard, so that's why I wrote it down. So also, there's like a Western versus like K-drama, like natural like thing that I saw. So I think that like there's like a clash of genres here, and I think it was quite interesting. And I think that's why a lot of people like the show because it had those K-drama elements and the American show elements too. So it's kind of like an American show with like set in Korea, so it's very like alluring to people. Like that's what I liked about it basically. I didn't like the main character, so like I said a million times, but that's what, kept me watching. Um and I feel like K-dramas are usually about like 16 to 24 episodes and like 60 minutes each, like episode is. And Exo Kitty has like 10 episodes, which was I thought was like they just crammed everything into each episode, and I thought they should have like dragged it out a bit like K-dramas do. And each episode was just like 30 minutes long, which I think it could have benefited from a 60-minute episode. But I think that American viewers might have, and viewers from around the world that don't watch Korean K-dramas might not have had like that much of an attention span or to be able to like sit there and watch the whole thing. So maybe that's why they did it. They probably can't watch a whole 60 minutes. But I think as the seasons progressed, they should have like expanded it to 60 minutes instead of 30 minutes. Just my personal thoughts. I'd love to hear what you all think about that. Like, I really strongly believe that they should have had longer seasons and longer episodes, like 60 minutes long, and probably at least 16 episodes per season. Um, I just feel like because it's so short, it just makes it feel much faster and more chaotic than like a slow burn K drama. Because I prefer a slow burn kind of show in general, not just K dramas, but like other shows too. And it basically also like I feel like it uses K-drama tropes like fake dating and like secret birth and like slow motion falls and things like that. But it kind of like adds like a Western like kind of like teen drama like element. Like frank discussions about sex and LGBTQ representation and like the underage drinking element, which you would never get those kind of things in K dramas unless it's like a controversial, like edgy K drama um, kind of situation. And then like I just want to talk about a bit about the aesthetics as well, because I think the color grading is like much brighter and much poppier um, than like a cinematic kind of like moody look for like modern K dramas. They don't use these kind of colors. It's like way brighter and like poppier, like popping in your face kind of thing. Um, yeah, that's what I just kind of picked up on. As I watched a lot of like American TV shows and K dramas, so that those are like kind of the nuances that I picked up on. And then there's like the public reception that I wanted to talk about and like criticism. So like my criticisms that I had personally, like the public was also divided. I don't know if how you guys felt about it. Like I said, I always want to hear everyone else's comments, what you all thought, if you agreed with my comments, if you agreed with like the public perception or not, and if you heard any of this gossip. If you have any other gossip that I have not mentioned about Exo Kitty, please comment and let me know other stuff because I'd love to know. So um, like I said, like there was a divide and it was like a global hit on Netflix, but it did receive like lukewarm responses in South Korea because it's not as good as a K-drama. Nowhere near. I feel like a K-drama, even an average K-drama, is like a whole like 60 to 70% better than Exo Kitty. Well, that's being generous to Exo Kitty. I think it's a whole like 80% better or like yeah, 75 to 80% better even at average K-drama. So yeah. Other criticisms that people have had are that the K-drama, like some K-dramas like are like pure, like people that like K-dramas are like purists, and they felt that it was like cringy, or like kind of like Disneyfied. I think that's what they were like thinking, like a version of like Korean culture. It wasn't very like representative. Um, and while like it was like praised for its like diverse cast, I feel like some people felt that the international school setting was like an excuse to avoid like dealing with the actual Korean like language culture too deeply, because I know that what by watching K-dramas and like a lot of Korean TV, that they'd never speak this much English. No one's walking around, especially the Korean students, are not walking around talking to the foreign students like in English like this much. It's just very unrealistic. Everyone's not talking in English. Everyone's trying to immerse themselves in the culture and speak Korean and learn Korean. So it's just like not very representative, like critics said, of like the culture and like what would actually happen if you were there. And the messiness as well. People like were saying that Kitty's grades were non-existent because she was too busy with the drama. Um, and I feel like that's like a classic thing that um people found annoying. And I feel like if you were in a school in South Korea, be it like a public or a private school, this is a private school in the show, I think. Yeah, it is. Uh, you'd be expelled. And they have really, really high standards, way higher than the UK and like the US. And there's no way that she would have like been able to continue being at that school. And yeah, if you were failed once, I think you'd be kicked out. There's no way. Like it was very unrealistic in that sense. It's not like an American school. They should have just done a bit more research as into like what would be acceptable or not acceptable in Korea. I think it would have done a lot better if they'd made it more realistic. And then also the public were like obsessed with the team Minho versus like team Day. And the show is like kind of like was praised for like its like breezy, like guilty pleasure kind of energy, because it's like it plays on K-dramas, but not really, and kind of a mix of everything. Um, I think that like a lot of the show was like based on like Korea, so they, like I said, they should have made it more Korean, and they also should have like had people talking in Korean more, and it should have been a lot more like, translated bits at the bottom for us to read. It would have been like it would have made more sense. And they should have had her, learn Korean, the actress, and speak it properly. And, like we could see that her progression of Korean on the show as well, from bad to good, which never happens, not even in season 3, like I mentioned before. Um, like I just want to know, like, who would you have chosen to be with in season 1, to be with Kitty? Uh, Dae, Minho, or Yuri? Whose team are you on at the end of season 1? Think back and give me an answer. Drop it in the comments. Also, what did you think about the cliffhanger at the end? Like at the end, and we didn't know if season 2, if it was going to be renewed for like a season 2, and what to expect, and what did you think was going to happen in season 2? Let's talk about that. So yeah, that was my thoughts and feelings, and like all the controversy and all that stuff. I am going to be doing a season 2 episode, and I will have that up pretty soon. The whole of season 2, I'm just going to discuss it like I did here, and like talk about controversy and all that stuff. And like the cast, behind the scenes, everything that's going on. And then I'll have season 3 up as well. So, like I said, if you haven't, click the follow button, because I'm going to have everything up pretty soon. We're also going to be dropping other shows as well, lots of Korean reality TV shows. some K-dramas that I've done alone and some K-dramas I've done with talked about with Mimi as well. There's so much coming, so like I said, buckle up. Sorry, my stomach's making like grouchy noises because I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. There's just a lot to talk about here, so hopefully I'll get all these episodes out for you pretty soon. And I'm also, if you guys have any requests for any shows, any Asian TV shows, so like we haven't really touched on, well, I haven't watched any Chinese TV yet, which I'm really excited to get into because I've heard a lot of good things about it. I think I'm going to start with like Chinese, probably reality TV or like a drama, a C drama, but I want some recommendations. If you guys have any recommendations, I'd be so thankful because I don't know where to start with it. Maybe like, oh, I don't know. And also, I was thinking about a Thai show as well. Like, I know there's been a lot of Thai shows appearing on my Netflix feed, so I was thinking about getting into some Thai shows. Me and Mimi will be this year going through some reality TV Japanese shows we have done in the past. One, which was oh god, I'm forgetting the show name. Oh, Badly in Love. On Netflix, and we will be doing some more Japanese shows that I've watched. I just have to wait to get Mimi to watch it. And then, like I said, we'll probably move on to like Thai and Chinese shows. Again, sorry about my stomach noises. I'm gonna go deal with that now. I'm gonna go feed the stomach and yeah, so bye. We'll be back really soon, hopefully both of us together. And I'll be continuing on with the EXO Kitty series seasons and talking to you guys about it, probably alone. Bye! Quick, hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on our socials too: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to this podcast on.